Hello everybody, Mr. E here, and today we are going to work on the line design project. I thought I had done this before on YouTube, but I cannot find a video, so I guess I did not. I do have all the directions on my blog if you are interested in seeing them written out. The first thing you're going to do is make a gentle curve across your paper. And then you're going to make 8 dots. And they don't have to be evenly spaced. They could be some farther apart, some close together. That's up to you. You decide. One more. There we go. After I've made my 8 dots, I'm going to then connect the dots. The dot that is on the ends will go off the edge of the paper as if it's going to an imaginary dot. There's a couple times in this project that you'll have to tell your students that things need to go off the edge of the paper as if they were continuing on forever and ever. Because if not, they'll stop before the bottom and it will look a little odd. Or they'll stop before the side. So just let them know that it will go off the edge of the paper, and that's fine. I try to tell my students that artwork cannot always be contained within a small piece of paper. When we talk about drawing trees or clouds, and it's okay to go off the edge of the paper, it doesn't have to be contained within. Except for suns, don't put them in the corner. They did nothing wrong. They should not be put in the corner. All right, so this is how I start this project every time. They do the initial dot-to-dot connection on the top and the bottom. Then I have them stop and observe me. So students, if you're doing this at home, take a second to watch before you keep going, okay? So you can start on any section. And you keep going dot to dot. You always go back to the dot. Now, one of the things is you cannot crisscross over any other line. You can share the line, and we want you to share the line, but you cannot crisscross over a line. And as you go farther out, you can balloon out. And it might lean one way, and that is absolutely okay. So you always go back to the point. Now, the reason that we always go back to the point is to make sure that it's done correctly, for one, but also by tracing over that line again and again. Can you see that it's starting to get darker? That's going to create a natural shadow, which will give our artwork a little bit more of 3D-ness. Is that a word? 3D-ness? It'll make it look more three-dimensional. So I'm going to go down and around. And follow along the path. It's like you follow a road back to the dot, all right? Now let me show you the example of what not to do. I have an example here already drawn up of don't do this. Because sometimes it's good to see what not to do. Here we go. So do you see how this is crisscrossing each other? You don't want crisscrossing to happen, all right? You're in control of how much it balloons out, so just don't balloon out that far. You don't have to go woo, woo. You can follow the path and make it go more long ways than wide ways. Does that make sense? But you just don't want to crisscross. And then, this is my page of bad examples, guys, if you're wondering what that is. You also don't want to do the rainbow connection. These lines here do not go to a point. I think that I've had students in the past think, oh, well, it looks like this. So they'll just start putting these rainbows everywhere. But that's not what I'm asking for you to do. I'm asking you to always go from point to point. These aren't going to a point. They are just kind of going to the line. That's not what we're doing. All right. So you don't have to go consecutively here. Like I don't have to go to this one and this one and this one. You can just jump around. And sometimes I like to flip my paper over. And you don't always have to finish it off and go all the way to the bottom of the paper first thing. Maybe you could do 4 or 5 of these little lines and then move on to another one. The choices that you're making do influence how your picture is going to look. And if you do this project again another time, you might do it a little differently so that you'll get different results. All right. And there are sometimes that you could do this and it might pinch one off completely. So you won't be able to grow all of them out to the end. You won't be able to grow all of them out to the end. It just won't happen. So I'm taking the end one off. Kind of looks like a little pumpkin or an onion or something. Like that. Now see how this is getting smaller in here? That's okay. It can get smaller. Now what is going to happen here in just a minute is that 2 of the sections are going to touch, which will then prevent this one from growing beyond this point right there. And that's okay. And then here's an example of going off the edge of the paper and then coming back on. That's where I tell the kids just pretend that the paper keeps going and going. All right, so then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go over, and you got to kind of squeeze that in to get to the point, and that's okay. That's what helps create some of the really cool kind of designs that we get with this project. And then when you can't go any farther, you can't go any farther. See? So then that stops right there. All right? And you just keep doing this. Now here, I've got this line is already established. So for this section, it's going to be sharing a lot with this section here. And that's fine. So this is also pushing it over to the right because this one had ballooned out so far. Once again, that's okay. So I just keep going and going and going until I fill up the whole page. So once you've filled up your whole page, and you can see how this one got pinched off right here, this one got pinched off right there. This one got pinched off right there. It's totally okay. Now, for this project, I do feel that the best way to color this, sorry about that, is with colored pencil. Crayon will work. Marker doesn't look as good because you can't do the blending. So I usually tell my students in class that you should have about 4 to 6 colors. I wouldn't do more than 6. And you can pick whatever color combination that you think looks good. Now, of course, white, don't want to use that. Yellow also doesn't show up super good. You can use yellow, but it doesn't always, like the way we're doing the shading, in just a second I'll show you. Yellow doesn't always show the shading as well, okay? So we start off by pushing hard in the corners, and then you start fading out and fading out. And then I go over to this side, push hard in the corner. You do want to fade, because if you don't, then it looks like stripes. And we don't want stripes. And I'm actually leaving the center of that white. These are our shadows, and this is the highlight. Now, I encourage my students not to put the same color side by side, leave at least a space. I also don't require a pattern. You pick your colors that you want to use, and you can put them in any order and change the order. If you want to do a pattern for a little while and then stop, that's okay too. You decide. All right, so I left a little highlight there, shaded in the corner. Now, the bad example page I showed you earlier, that's what I was showing the kids, is you don't want to do it like hard and dark, draw a line, medium, and then dark, because that doesn't show any kind of value change or blending or fading. It just goes from dark to medium. And you want to kind of gradually go out, so you go from a dark to a light. And that doesn't do that. It just kind of makes stripes. So it's a fade. And that is really all about control. And you've got the control. The pencil is not in control of you, you're in control of it. So pushing hard. And then getting a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. And once you have one done, you can kind of use that as a guide for your darkness, your lightness, and where your highlight is going. Because what we're going to end up doing with this is having that highlight in the general same area, so it looks like the light is hitting the object right there in the center, which then creates the shadows on the edges. So let me show you one that's a little bit more finished. See how you can follow the light right there? Right there. But you can use any color combination you want. You want to make it very earthy, you can use browns and greens and grays. If you want to make it kind of like icy cold, use a variety of blues, purples, grays, black would be fine as well. So it's up to you. Have fun with it and make it your own. But these are quite beautiful when they are finished. So enjoy, and if you make them and put them up on social media anywhere, just tag me so I know. Art with Mr. E. All right, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.